Welcome to the Candid Comms podcast. If you're looking for practical and inspirational ideas to help you thrive in internal communication, you're in the right place. I'm your host, international communication consultant, trainer and mentor, Rachel Miller. Through this podcast, I'll share my experience with you so you can increase your skills, knowledge and confidence on all things internal communication related. Welcome to the very first episode of the Candid Comms podcast. Through this show, you and I are going to look at why this podcast exists, what you can expect, and what's coming up in season 1. The reason that this podcast exists is because I know firsthand how incredibly visible your role is as an internal communicator. People turn to you as the expert, and it might be you need to be an instant expert. For example, how many times have your stakeholders suddenly said to you, "Hey, change is coming," or "Our CEO is leaving. I need you to give me advice and guidance on this." And all of a sudden, your super visible role becomes even more visible and you have to hit the ground running. You have to be able to go into that next discussion, that next meeting, be on top of your game with advice and guidance to help your organisation and help your colleagues and your peers and your leaders communicate brilliantly. But here's the truth. You also need a safe space to learn. You also need a place where you can increase your skills, your knowledge and your confidence and get the answers to your comms conundrums. That's why the Candid Comms podcast exists. I will be here in every single episode to give you top tips and advice and guidance based on my years of experience working in internal communication, both in-house and now as a comms consultant. I know that as professional communicators, you want to know how to quickly improve your internal communication. You want to know how to maximize your time and do the thinking quickly. You also want to know what you don't know. If you suddenly have to be a subject matter expert, where are the gaps? Where's the gap in your knowledge? What do you need to get up to speed with really quickly? You also want to keep up to date with trends and understand what's going on and who's doing what in the wonderful world of internal communication. However, I also know you want to do that without trawling through blog posts. And I've written 1,500 blog posts since 2009 on all things internal comms related. And I know that you search, but I want to make it even easier for you to be able to keep up to date with what's going on and with trends without all that trawling and searching or spending lots of time at conferences or lots of time networking, all of which are super important in our careers as internal communicators. However, think of me as the comms consultant in your pocket. When you are stuck on a particular topic, there will be an episode to help you. So what you can expect from this podcast is candid conversations. I will tell you warts and all about my experience. I will tell you warts and all what to expect and what good looks like and what success looks like in this wonderful world of internal communication. And I will do so by sharing the pitfalls, the things to avoid, the things that could trip you up. There are so many tough nuts to crack when it comes to internal comms. Things like reputation or measurement. And I know when I say the word measurement, you're probably going to pull a face. However, it's not the Achilles heel of internal comms that it needs to be. There is a logical process to follow. It's not as hard as lots of people make out. I promise you, there will be an episode on measurement, probably more than one. What's coming up in season 1 is we're going to be discovering and unpicking common comms conundrums. So you can expect us to talk about line managers. You can expect us to talk about leadership. You can expect us to talk about change communication, employee engagement, when to call in outside help. We're also going to be thinking about how you can increase your skills, knowledge and confidence to benefit not only your employees, but your career too. So that's what you can expect from the Candid Comms podcast. And throughout this season in particular, you can find me online at All Things I See on Twitter, via my website, allthingsic.com, or on Instagram at Rachel All Things I See. And do tag your content, hashtag All Things I See, so I can see it with letter I, letter C. Show me where you're listening to the show. I'd love to discover where you are. I'm going to end with the reason why I've brought back this podcast. And I say brought back because I used to have a podcast back in 2013 and I loved it. I loved sharing thoughts about comms conundrums and helping people on all things internal communication related. I then had my twin sons and I put the show on pause. So listener, it is back after a 6-year pause. Throughout that time, I've loved appearing on other people's podcasts to support the brilliant work that they're doing. However, now is the time to press that unpause button. I've always said never say never about returning with my very own podcast. So I'm keeping my promise to myself. I'm back. I'm here to stay. I'd love you to get involved. Do check out the website allthingsic.com/podcast to discover how you can subscribe to keep up to date and never miss a show and access all the show notes. So until next time, remember, what happens inside is reflected outside. See you again soon.